And the reason why I'm asking about native speakers, because usually, what native speakers are we talking about, right? Because we have native speakers in Europe, right? Native speakers speaking English in Europe. And sometimes when I hear British English, I even have a hard time trying to understand what they're saying. So my mind has to adjust in the beginning of the conversation or in the beginning of the listening activity, so I can start understanding in full what the other person is saying, right? And this is exactly the point. My experience is this. When I was, you know that I've learned English here in Brazil. I've never lived anywhere else, and I've studied at Wizard. But when I started working for international companies, the first thing that I thought was, oh, my English is going to get better because I'm working directly with native speakers. But I was working with with Americans, and my English really started to get better and better back then. But that was the only experience, and that was the only time I worked directly with Americans. And all the other experiences I had on all the other companies I worked for were more international or more global than just native American speakers, right? So I had to deal with Indians, I had to deal with the Germans, Hungarians, Chinese people, Japanese, Brazilians. So the wonder of that is when you find yourself in a global meeting and you can communicate to people, it's amazing, because then you start listening. Oh, I'm hearing the Chinese talking about his implementations or how the project is going in China, and then you jump to a German with his accent speaking about how the things are going there. But the common ground you have is the project base, right? So then you start saying, okay, I learned English in a different way before. So let me go back real quick so I can share this with you. So here it is. Why sometimes it's so hard to understand the native speaker, right? In this sense, first of all, because they speak fast, but it is the same thing as we do, right? We speak Portuguese really fast, and we don't think about when we are speaking, right? And they do just the same thing. And one of the reasons why we don't understand them, or you don't understand them, it's because you were taught English or classroom English before, right? You heard classroom instructions, asking, giving informations. The teacher worked with you before as a facilitator. He wasn't speaking so fast because he wanted you to understand, right? But this is a problem. And usually you have the classical division. Oh, either you are studying American accent or you are studying British accent, which I don't completely agree. I think when you are learning English, the thing is you have to understand multiple accents, not only the American and the British, as you said, right? English has many different kinds of accents, and it's not the traditional American English or British English as we were talking, right? We have cultural differences. If you speak with a white person is different than speaking with a black person. Their accents and their intonations are completely different sometimes, depending on where you go. Even in America, you have the regional accents, right? If you go up north, if you go Midwestern, if you go south, you have those different accents, but we are used to hearing Hollywood accent. It's just like watching Global and listening to Carioca's accent. It's pretty much what it's there, right? And the thing is, Europe is so much bigger than US and has so many more accents. This is incredible, right? And you have the native British, and then you have everybody else, right? Russians that speak English, Indians, as we said. And man, I had in one project meeting, I had a Russian teammate, and his English to me was really hard to understand. I had to adjust my mind to listen and to really understand what he was saying when I was dealing with him. And I've learned this through experience, because no school taught you or teaches you that, right? Normally they don't do that. So so my point here is the key to start understanding native speakers, right, is to start listening to them, and not only listening to them, but start understanding how they communicate, right? And when we say how they communicate, then I told about listening, right? We need to listen a variety of different accents. It's not only, oh, I'm going to listen to an American podcast. No, try listening to an American podcast, Australian podcast, a British podcast, because then you will start having this, your brain will start developing more connections to start understanding these guys. I'm always telling you about the contractions, my friend. Contractions are one of the things that they use the most, right? They really contract stuff. And we, in our speech, we have to start contracting stuff as well, right? Not only in the to be verb, but for example, when you are speaking in the present perfect, you are usually saying you have, right? You already said, I have been something, right? Instead of saying I have, try throwing some I've in between. I think you're going to enjoy that, and you will see that it will become much more fluent, and many other things. But I'm not going to call your attention to this one because we've seen this one. The last one I want to point out is the relaxed speech, right? If we go back to the beginning, one of the reasons why we don't understand them is because they speak very fast. And when they do speak very fast, regardless of a native speaker or just like us, people have learned English as a second language, we all develop some sort of a relaxed speech, right? This is when we start blurring words, combining words, right? For example, instead of saying give me, I'm writing for you on the screen. People usually say gimme, right? So this is one of the things, let me put it back there, that context is everything. Look, I have many different examples here that you can see, and this is one of them, right? Did you have? They won't say did you have. Most like they'll say did you have a good time, for example. Did you have a good time, right? People would say do you want to? It would say you wanna. You wanna, right? So the key is we need to start understanding, or at least recognizing, these different sounds variations so that we are able to understand native speakers, right? And when I'm saying understand native speakers, please don't focus only on American or British English, right? We have to understand that, for example, a German kid learns English since it's a kid, right? So they will learn English, they will develop English as a second language, just like just like any other country in Europe, because they have to learn multiple languages there. So it's kind of like a mix. And this is one of the reasons why I'm always pushing and saying, hey, my friend, we need to be open to the world, not only open to one culture or only listen to American podcasts. Because reality is, when you have to speak with the Chinese, just like the example you've mentioned, the Chinese guy that is working out in the same gym with you, when you start to approach him, you're going to start listening to a different pronunciation, different intonation, and I can say that it's a different English, right? You had that experience, right? How was the experience for you? It was a completely different English, wasn't it?
Completely different than